I'm Darrell Taylor, Superintendent of Schools for Calhoun County, Florida, and I would like to thank everyone that viewed the first attendance video message that we put out and the feedback that we've been able to receive as a result of that. As I mentioned in the first video, it's our intent to provide information about the importance of establishing good attendance habits as far as attending in school is concerned. At the time of the last video, we had 239 students that had missed more than 6 days at that point in time in the year. As of the end of the first grading period, which ended on October the 11th, that number had risen to 309 students in our 4 schools have missed 6 or more days. Now, some of those have excused absences, but many of those are unexcused absences. And that's part of the reason for us putting together this video series to try to help train and prepare folks to establish good attendance habits. School officials, as the first 9 weeks has ended, school officials will be contacting parents to schedule conferences pertaining to attendance of their child if there is an area of concern that they need to address. Students that have 3 or more unexcused absences in a grading period, as we mentioned before, can have their grades impacted, and that, as we term that, the 59 list, their grades can be lowered than what they actually earned in the courses that they're taking. That's not something that we want to have. We want to work towards establishing good habits in which students are very much aware of their attendance, the days that they've missed, so that we don't have students that are in a position where their grades could be impacted by attendance issues. We want students to earn the grades and receive the grades that they've worked for the 9 weeks. As I mentioned a second ago, we're going to be scheduling conferences. School officials, guidance counselors, teachers, principals will be contacting families. They will be having conferences at schools pertaining to issues where there are areas of concern. Students that are following attendance policies, that are turning in notes, that are staying within established minimums and not missing excessive days, those aren't areas where we're going to be looking at. The areas of where we're trying to concentrate efforts is where we see or where we have concerns pertaining to a student's attendance and trying to help get that student back on a track to where their attendance is going to meet the expectations of the attendance policy, but also to have that student in a class where they're going to be participating in the instruction. I mentioned the last video that we had. We can give makeup work, we can do things to try to help catch a student up, but when they actually miss a class, that missed instruction time, we can't get that back. And it's absolutely to the student's benefit to be there in person, in class with that teacher to get the most benefit and have the greatest opportunity for success. For students that do have their grades impacted by the attendance policy, they have more than 3 unexcused absences in 9 weeks. One method that we're going to try to work with families on to try to help get that student back on track to a good pattern is, and this will be something that's discussed in the conferences, would be an attendance contract. If a student has had their grades negatively impact because they did not meet the requirements of the Calhoun County School District attendance policy and their grades have been lowered, that school and that parent and through that conference, they can have an attendance contract developed in which the child, if everyone, the parent, the child, everyone is in agreement that they will work towards meeting the requirements of the attendance policy, they meet those requirements the following 9 weeks. If their grades were affected the first 9 weeks, they go under an attendance contract for the second 9 weeks. If they meet the requirements of that attendance contract, then their grades for that first 9 weeks that were impacted can be restored back to what the earned grades were, so that the negative penalty that was put in place can be removed. So we encourage families, when your school is reaching out to you to try to schedule a conference, work with them. Try to get involved in what they're trying to do to try to help restore your child's attendance or help them to be successful for that. We mentioned before a couple of means by which they could monitor attendance, and certainly contacting your child's school, scheduling a conference with a teacher is always available, but also, as we mentioned before, focus. If you have not established a focus account, we encourage you to do that. There's also an app that you can have installed on your phone that will help you to stay aware of where your child's attendance is. And remember, we talked about this. It's kept by 9 weeks, by period, for each one of the days. So we encourage you to take advantage of these opportunities that are there and methods by which you can monitor your child's attendance. Again, we do not want to be in a position where anybody has a punitive measure or a negative impact that's put on them as a result, or that's been earned as a result of not meeting the attendance policy. We want to be preventive in that. The measures that we're trying to put in place, the purpose for this communication is to educate and inform so that we avoid a situation where any student has any kind of negative impact that's imposed on them by an attendance policy. Thanks again for listening to this message, and again, I would say stay tuned for future messages as we continue to discuss attendance with the Calhoun County School District. Thank you.